The sterile scent of cleaning chemicals always clung to my husband Liam's clothes, a sharp, almost medicinal aroma that spoke of long hours spent in the gleaming, impersonal corridors of his high-rise office building downtown. For years, I, Judy, had associated it with ambition, with success, with the quiet dedication of a man building a future for our family. At 29, I thought I had it all. A charming brownstone in Brooklyn, a promising career as a graphic designer, and a husband who, by all outward appearances, adored me. Liam, at 32, was everything I had ever dreamed of. Handsome, intelligent, and fiercely driven. He was a senior executive at Viridian Global, a sprawling logistics empire, a company whose very name whispered of efficiency and far-reaching influence. He worked tirelessly, often traveling for weeks at a time, crisscrossing continents, negotiating deals that sounded impossibly complex. When he was home, he was attentive, bringing me wildflowers from the market, remembering my favorite obscure coffee, tracing patterns on my skin as we drifted off to sleep. Our son Leo, a bright, curious 5-year-old with his father's deep-set, intelligent eyes, was the joyful centerpiece of our world, a vibrant testament to the love Liam and I shared. Or so I believed. The first crack in my meticulously constructed reality appeared subtly, like a hairline fracture in a perfect pane of glass. It began with the calls, brief, hushed conversations that Liam would take in the dead of night, slipping into the cold, silent sanctity of the bathroom, the water running softly, as if to drown out any telltale words. I'd wake, startled by the sudden absence beside me, and listen, my heart a dull, rhythmic thud against my ribs, to the low murmur of his voice, too indistinct to comprehend, yet too clandestine to ignore. He'd return to bed, sighing, a familiar, almost comforting weight settling beside me, and I would pretend to be asleep, my mind a frantic maelstrom of questions I dared not voice. Then came the subtle shifts in routine. The unexpected, last-minute business trips that extended by a day, sometimes two. The vague excuses for missed family dinners. A crucial client meeting that ran late. An unavoidable networking event. His phone, once left carelessly on the kitchen counter, was now a closely guarded secret, always face down, always within arm's reach. I'd catch him smiling at it, a private, knowing smile that never quite reached his eyes when he looked at me. When I'd playfully reach for it, a sudden, almost violent tension would seize him. "Personal calls, Judy." He'd snap, his voice sharper than usual. "Work stuff, you wouldn't understand." One crisp autumn evening, as Leo and I were baking his favorite chocolate chip cookies, the rich scent of vanilla and melting chocolate filling our cozy kitchen, Liam walked in, a strained smile on his face. His usual end-of-day embrace was perfunctory, his gaze distant. "I need to talk to you, Judy," he said, his voice unusually grave. My hands, coated in flour, stilled. Leo, oblivious, continued to mash a handful of chocolate chips onto his forehead. "Go play in your room for a bit, buddy," Liam said, his voice softer but still firm, and Leo, sensing the shift in the air, scampered off, leaving an eerie silence in his wake. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, my heart now hammering against my ribs, a panicked bird trapped in a cage. "What is it, Liam? Is everything okay?" He sat heavily at the kitchen island, avoiding my gaze, tracing the condensation ring left by my forgotten coffee mug. "Judy, I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us. About my life." He took a deep breath, and I instinctively braced myself. "I'm not happy, Judy. Not truly. And I don't think you are either." The words hung in the air, heavy, suffocating. My throat constricted. "Not happy? Liam, what are you talking about? We have a wonderful life. We have Leo. What's changed?" He finally met my eyes, and I saw a flicker of something I hadn't seen before. Not anger, not sadness, but a strange, unsettling blend of guilt and cold resolve. "I've met someone, Judy," he said, his voice barely a whisper, yet it ripped through me like a physical blow. "Her name is Anya, and she makes me feel alive again. Truly alive. Things with us, they've become stagnant, predictable. Anya, she understands me. She challenges me. The kitchen, moments ago filled with warmth and the comforting scent of baking, suddenly felt cold, vast, utterly alien. I gripped the edge of the counter, my knuckles white. Anya? Who is Anya? How long? A few months, he interrupted, his voice gaining a defensive edge. She's wonderful, Judy. Really. And there's something else. We have a child, a little girl. Her name is Lily. She's 3. The world tilted. My vision swam. A child. A secret child. 3 years old. 3 years of lies. 3 years of clandestine phone calls, of business trips, of late nights. All while I was here, raising our son, believing in our future, believing in him. The very air in my lungs felt stolen, replaced by a searing, agonizing emptiness. A child? I gasped. The word a raw, broken sound. You have a child with her? For 3 years? And you? You're telling me this now? He stood up, pacing the small kitchen, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. I know this is a shock, Judy. I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't keep living a lie. Anya and Lily, they need me. And I need to be a full-time father to Lily, to be present in her life. The hypocrisy, the sheer, unadulterated audacity of his words, ignited a cold, terrifying rage within me. He spoke of being a full-time father to a child born of his deceit, while abandoning the child he had with me, a child who had worshipped him, who had waited patiently for his fleeting presence. Present? I hissed, my voice trembling, barely recognizable as my own. Present? While you were building a secret life, I was here, raising our son, making sure he was fed, clothed, loved, while you were, what? Playing house with another woman? Another family? It's not like that, he began, his voice softening, attempting a placating tone. I've always loved Leo. He's my son. But Anya and I, we've built a life. A real life. We want to be a family. And for that to happen, we need to finalize things. With you. Finalize things? I repeated, a bitter, hysterical laugh bubbling up from deep within me. Finalize things? Is that what you call it? You bring your mistress and your secret child here, into my home, to finalize things? His eyes hardened. I don't want to make this difficult, Judy. I've been more than fair. I'm willing to give you the brownstone and a substantial portion of my assets. We can work out custody of Leo. I want to keep things civil. For Leo's sake. Civil. He spoke of civility after gutting my life, after shredding our shared history, after trampling on every vow we had ever made. The calmness in his voice, the measured, almost transactional way he spoke of divorcing me, of severing our life, was more infuriating than any scream. He was treating our marriage, our family, our 5 years of shared joy and struggle, like a business deal gone sour, a contract to be renegotiated, neatly packaged, and then discarded. You're willing to give me the brownstone? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet, each word laced with venom. The brownstone I renovated with my own 2 hands? The brownstone I poured my life's savings into, while you were busy building your secret real life? The brownstone, our first home, had been a fixer-upper when we bought it. I, with my graphic design background, had painstakingly, lovingly, transformed it into a sanctuary, investing countless hours and every spare penny into its renovation, while Liam's business trips often conveniently coincided with major demolition or construction phases. He knew almost nothing of the physical and emotional labor I had poured into every single brick, every single beam, every carefully chosen paint swatch. He sighed, a sound of weary exasperation, as if I were being unreasonable, unnecessarily dramatic. Judy, don't be like this. I've told Anya everything. We want to do this cleanly, without drama. She and Lily will be here tomorrow. We can discuss the terms. All of us, together. Civilly. My mind reeled. Tomorrow. He was bringing them here. Into my home. To confront me. To watch my pain. to finalize his betrayal. The audacity was breathtaking. "You're bringing them here?" I whispered, my voice raw with disbelief. "Into my home? The home you just admitted was part of your old, stagnant life?" "It's the easiest way to handle this," he said, rising, already walking towards the living room. As if the conversation was concluded. As if my consent, my emotions, my shattered world were utterly irrelevant. "Be prepared. For Leo's sake." He left me standing there, amidst the lingering scent of chocolate chip cookies, the symbol of a perfect domesticity that had been, in truth, nothing but a meticulously crafted illusion. My hands were still coated in flour, my heart still a frantic drum, but beneath the pain, a cold, hard resolve began to form. Liam had always underestimated me. He had always seen me as the gentle, accommodating wife, the artist, the homemaker, too emotional, too naive to understand the ruthless machinations of the real world he so grandly inhabited. He believed I would crumble, that I would weep, that I would accept whatever paltry crumbs he deigned to offer. He believed I would simply disappear, leaving him free to build his real life with Anya and Lily, unencumbered by the inconvenient ghost of our shared past. He was wrong. So profoundly, catastrophically wrong. The next morning dawned crisp and clear, a brutally beautiful New York autumn day. I woke before the sun, the events of the previous evening replaying in a horrifying loop in my mind. The brownstone, once my sanctuary, felt like a cage, a tomb. But as the first slivers of golden light pierced through the blinds, a new emotion began to simmer. A cold, precise anger that sharpened my focus, clearing the fog of pain. Liam thought he was the only one who understood leverage, who knew how to play the long game. He thought I was just a graphic designer, a creative, a dreamer, far too soft for the cutthroat world he inhabited. He had forgotten that every good designer, every successful artist, understands one fundamental truth. Sometimes, the most exquisite creations are born from the most profound destruction. And sometimes, the most effective weapon is the one your opponent never sees coming. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Leo, who was still deeply asleep in his room, innocent and oblivious to the storm brewing around him. I walked silently to my small, meticulously organized home office, a space filled with vibrant color swatches, sketchbooks, and a powerful state-of-the-art computer. Liam had always playfully called it my hobby room, never truly appreciating the complex, highly technical projects I undertook there, the demanding, lucrative freelance contracts I quietly secured, the sophisticated digital assets I managed. He assumed my income was supplemental, a nice little extra for pretty things. He had no idea it was far more substantial, often rivaling his own, and certainly more liquid. My first call was to Sarah Chen, my best friend, a brilliant, no-nonsense corporate attorney who had navigated countless messy divorces. Sarah, a woman whose sharp intellect was matched only by her unwavering loyalty, answered on the first ring, her voice already laced with concern. "Judy? What's wrong? You never call this early." "It's Liam," I said, my voice flat, devoid of emotion, as if speaking about a stranger. He confessed. "Mistress, secret child, 3 years. And he's bringing them here today to finalize things. He wants to be civil." A stunned silence on the other end. Then Sarah's sharp intake of breath. "That bastard. Judy, are you okay? Are you safe?" "I'm fine," I lied. The lie a fragile shield against the raw pain beneath. "But I need your help, Sarah. All of it. I need to protect Leo. And I need to protect myself. Financially. Emotionally. Everything. Liam thinks he has all the cards. I need to make sure he doesn't." "He doesn't have all the cards, Judy," Sarah said, her voice hardening, taking on a familiar steely edge that I knew from her courtroom triumphs. "He clearly underestimates you, massively. And that, my friend, is always the biggest mistake an opponent can make." Over the next few hours, Sarah and I worked with a frantic yet surgical precision. She immediately began drafting a temporary restraining order a preemptive strike to ensure Liam couldn't make any rash financial moves before I could secure my assets. I, meanwhile, began systematically transferring funds from our joint accounts into my own private encrypted accounts. Accounts Liam didn't even know existed, accounts filled with the substantial earnings from my hobby design projects, funds I had carefully, foresightfully, squirreled away for years, anticipating an uncertain future that had now, terrifyingly, arrived. I meticulously documented every piece of evidence: texts, emails, Liam's business trip itineraries, even his social media activity, cross-referencing it with news articles and industry reports to build an undeniable timeline of his deceit. I specifically focused on anything related to Viridian Global, his company. My knowledge of forensic graphic design and digital asset management, honed over years of complex client projects, became my unlikely weapon. I unearthed hidden digital footprints, subtle clues Liam, in his arrogance, had left behind. I knew with chilling certainty that the true value of Viridian Global, and Liam's status within it, relied heavily on his intricate network of contacts, his meticulously cultivated relationships. As the morning wore on, the brownstone began to feel less like a prison and more like a carefully prepared battlefield. I showered, dressed not in my usual casual wear, but in a tailored black dress. Simple yet undeniably powerful, a silent declaration of war. I combed my hair back, securing it in a tight professional bun. No tears, no vulnerability. Today I was not the naive wife. Today I was a strategist. Leo woke up, his usual cheerful self oblivious to the storm. "Mommy, can we make pancakes?" he asked, his eyes wide and hopeful. My heart ached with a profound protective love for him. He was the innocent, the vulnerable, the only truly good thing to emerge from my fractured marriage. "Of course, sweetie," I said, my voice carefully modulated to sound normal, as if today were any other day. "Go put on your superhero pajamas, we'll make the best pancakes ever." While Leo watched cartoons and munched happily on his chocolate chip pancakes, I made one more crucial call. Not to a lawyer, but to a former client, an intimidating, highly respected financial journalist named David Thorne, known for his relentless investigative reporting and his brutal takedowns of corrupt corporate executives. I had designed his highly successful online publication's entire brand identity years ago, and we had maintained a professional, mutually respectful relationship ever since. "David," I said, my voice steady, "I have a story for you. A big one, about Liam Reynolds, senior executive at Viridian Global, and how he's using company resources, and potentially company time, to facilitate a secret life, a mistress, and a hidden child, all while portraying himself as a devoted family man and an ethical corporate leader." A beat of silence on the other end. David Thorne was notoriously difficult to impress, utterly immune to gossip. But this, I knew, was different. "Judy," he said, his voice now sharper, more alert. "You have evidence?" "More than enough," I confirmed, my gaze sweeping across my office, now filled with digital files, meticulously organized documents, and a chillingly comprehensive timeline of Liam's deception. "And I can provide it, anonymously of course, along with specific, verifiable details about his movements, his expenses, and the potential implications for Viridian Global's public image." Think about it, David. The devoted family man executive caught in a scandal that could tank his career and potentially damage the company's reputation just as they're about to launch that massive new logistics platform. David Thorne, the seasoned journalist, recognized a potential exposé when he heard one. His professional instincts, honed by years of digging into corporate malfeasance, immediately kicked in. "Judy," he said, his voice now almost eager, "I'm listening. Tell me everything." I spent the next hour meticulously detailing Liam's deceit, painting a vivid picture of his double life, his calculated manipulation, and the potential for public scandal. I provided David with key dates, financial transactions, even hints of the specific hotels and cities where Liam had conducted his clandestine affairs, all carefully corroborated by my own forensic digital investigation. I emphasized the hypocrisy, the moral turpitude of a man who presented himself as a pillar of corporate ethics while systematically betraying his family. David listened intently, asking sharp, probing questions, his rapid-fire typing a comforting rhythm on the other end of the line. "This is big, Judy," he finally said, his voice hushed with the weight of the potential story. This could be career-ending for him. It could even rock Viridian Global stock, depending on how far the deception goes, and how it implicates the company's internal ethics policies. "Are you sure you want to do this?" "There's no turning back." "I'm sure," I said, my voice unwavering, devoid of any doubt. He chose this. He chose to humiliate me publicly, to dismantle my life without a shred of remorse. He chose to bring his mistress and his secret child into my home, to finalize his betrayal. He believed I would be a quiet victim. He was wrong. And now, he will pay the price for underestimating me. "Understood," David said, a hint of grim admiration in his voice. "I'll start digging immediately. I'll need some of those documents you mentioned. And I'll need to confirm everything independently before we run with it. But Judy, if this checks out, it's a bombshell. The kind that ends careers." The doorbell rang at precisely 11 a.m. Its cheerful chime a jarring counterpoint to the tempest brewing within me. I took a deep breath, smoothing down my black dress, consciously straightening my shoulders. Leo was in his room, immersed in a Lego creation, thankfully oblivious to the emotional earthquake about to erupt in our living room. I opened the door. There stood Liam, impeccably dressed as always, a strained, almost apologetic smile on his face. Beside him stood a woman I immediately knew was Anya, sleek, sophisticated, with carefully coiffed blonde hair and eyes that held a flicker of triumph. And clinging to her hand, a tiny girl with large, curious blue eyes that were undeniably Liam's, Lily. She was clutching a worn teddy bear, her innocent face a heartbreaking mirror of my own son's at that age. "Judy," Liam began, his voice surprisingly calm, almost casual. "Thank you for being willing to do this. This is Anya and our daughter, Lily." He spoke the words "our daughter" with a possessive pride that made my stomach churn. Anya offered a tight, polite smile, her eyes subtly raking over my simple black dress, my carefully unadorned appearance. I could almost hear the unspoken comparison. This was the woman he was leaving, this drab, predictable creature. She was expecting tears, despair, weakness. She would find none. "Anya," I said, my voice cool, composed, meeting her gaze evenly. There was no warmth, no welcome, only a chilling politeness that put her immediately on edge. "And Lily, please, come in." They stepped into the brownstone, Liam leading the way, his confidence radiating, as if he were leading a new conquest into a newly acquired territory. Lily, sensing the tension, instinctively clung closer to Anya's leg, her blue eyes wide, darting nervously around the unfamiliar room. We moved into the living room, a space filled with sunlight and the echoes of Leo's laughter, now muted, the silence heavy with unspoken confrontation. Liam gestured for Anya and Lily to sit on the plush, cream-colored sofa. Our sofa. The one where Leo and I curled up for story time. The one where Liam and I once shared, whispered dreams of a future that would now never materialize. Anya settled onto it as if she owned it, pulling Lily onto her lap, her posture radiating a subtle, possessive triumph. Liam, meanwhile, stood, hands casually tucked into his pockets, exuding an air of weary benevolence, as if he were the magnanimous party, the one offering a painful but necessary olive branch. "Judy," he began, his voice calm, measured. "I know this is difficult, but Anya and we've discussed this extensively. We believe the best path forward for everyone, especially for the children, is an amicable separation. We've even brought a draft of the divorce agreement, outlining the terms for the brownstone, the assets, and Leo's custody. We want to be fair. We want to make sure you're taken care of." Anya nodded, her eyes fixed on me, a faint, almost imperceptible smirk playing on her lips. "We really just want everyone to be happy," she said, her voice dripping with a false sweetness that grated on my nerves. And a quick, clean break is truly for the best. For your peace of mind, Judy. My peace of mind. The phrase, uttered by the woman who had systematically dismantled my peace of mind for the past 3 years, was almost comical in its hypocrisy. I remained standing, facing them, my posture unwavering, my expression unreadable. A draft of the agreement? I repeated, my voice devoid of emotion. How thoughtful. Have you also brought a timeline of your secret relationship, Liam? Perhaps a detailed ledger of all the company resources you've funneled into your hidden life? Because, as a matter of full disclosure, I believe that should also be on the table. Liam's confident facade flickered. His eyes narrowed. Judy, what are you talking about? Don't be ridiculous. This isn't about that. This is about our divorce. Our future. It's entirely about that, Liam, I countered, my voice gaining a quiet, chilling force that sliced through the room. Because your future, as you so callously put it, was built on a foundation of lies, deception, and a blatant disregard for ethical conduct, both personal and professional. You believe you're a victim here, forced to choose between 2 lives. You're not. You're a perpetrator. And the consequences of your actions extend far beyond this living room. Anya stirred on the sofa, a look of growing unease replacing her confident smirk. What is she talking about, Liam? What consequences? Nothing, Liam snapped, his voice now sharp with genuine alarm. She's just trying to cause trouble. She's upset. He turned back to me, his eyes blazing. Judy, if you think you can blackmail me, or threaten my career, you are gravely mistaken. I am a senior executive at Viridian Global. My reputation is impeccable. Impeccable? I echoed, a faint, mirthless smile touching my lips. Is that what you call it? A reputation built on a carefully constructed facade of integrity, while you systematically lied, cheated, and exploited the trust placed in you, both by your company and by me. Do you recall your business trip to San Francisco in March 2022, Liam? The one where you claimed to be closing the Aurora Systems deal, but were actually holed up in a discreet boutique hotel in Sausalito with Anya, celebrating Lily's first birthday? Or the critical client meeting in Miami last August, which conveniently coincided with Anya's solo trip to the Hamptons, paid for, I might add, by your corporate expense account, disguised as client entertainment? Liam's face went white. He visibly recoiled, as if I had struck him. Anya gasped, her eyes wide with dawning horror, staring at Liam, then at me. What? What is she saying, Liam? A hotel? Expenses? She's lying, Anya! Liam roared, his voice laced with panic, shattering his composure. She's making it up. She's distraught. Am I, Liam? I asked, my voice still dangerously calm, radiating a cold, implacable authority. Perhaps David Thorne, the investigative journalist from Corporate Watchdog Weekly, would agree? He's quite interested in the meticulous, almost obsessive detail with which I've documented your entire double life, including precise dates, locations, and the remarkably creative ways you've managed to funnel company resources into your personal deceptions. I believe he's already initiated his own independent verification process. And I assure you, David Thorne doesn't publish anything unless it's airtight. He's known for ending careers, not just reporting on them. The name David Thorne hung in the air, a death knell. Liam, the powerful, untouchable executive, visibly trembled. His meticulously crafted world, his carefully guarded secrets, were crumbling around him. Corporate Watchdog Weekly was a revered, feared publication, known for its merciless exposés of corporate malfeasance. An article from them could indeed end his career, destroy his reputation, and potentially even trigger an internal investigation by Viridian Global that could lead to his swift, ignominious dismissal. Anya, her face now a mask of pure fury and betrayal, leaped off the sofa, thrusting Lily into Liam's bewildered arms. David Thorne! You told me you were divorced. You told me she was crazy, a clingy ex. You told me everything was handled. What else have you lied about, Liam? Her voice was a raw, uncontrolled shriek. She had been Liam's partner in deceit, but she had also been his victim, manipulated by his lies, believing herself to be the legitimate, chosen second wife. Just then, Leo, drawn by the escalating noise, padded into the living room, his superhero pajamas rumpled, his eyes wide with confusion. He looked from me, to his father, to the unfamiliar woman, and the little girl in Liam's arms. "Daddy?" he whispered, his innocent voice cutting through the tense air. A small, vulnerable beacon in the storm. "Who are they?" Liam, his face still pale with shock and fear, instinctively pulled Leo closer, as if to shield him from the chaos he himself had unleashed. He looked at Leo, then at Lily, then back at me, a desperate, hunted look in his eyes. He had wanted a clean, civil break. He had wanted to control the narrative. But the narrative had been wrested from his grasp, brutally, irrevocably, by the quiet, unassuming woman he had so foolishly underestimated. It was at that precise moment, witnessing Liam's utter vulnerability, his carefully constructed persona shattering before our eyes, that Leo, my sweet, perceptive Leo, pointed a small, accusatory finger at Lily, still clutched in Liam's arms, and, in a voice filled with an almost preternatural wisdom, said the words that would echo in my mind for years to come. "Daddy, her teddy bear. It smells like our old laundry detergent. The one Mommy uses." The silence that followed was deafening. Lily's teddy bear, a small, innocuous detail, became a devastating piece of evidence, an undeniable link to the very home Liam had so casually dismissed, the very life he had so deliberately abandoned. It was a detail only a child, with their unfiltered senses and their unique perception of the world, could have noticed, could have articulated. It was a tangible, undeniable scent of betrayal, clinging to an innocent child's comfort object. Anya stared at the teddy bear, then at Liam, then back at me, her eyes widening with a horrifying realization. Not just a mistress, not just a secret child, but a secret child whose belongings, by virtue of Liam's careless deceit, carried the lingering scent of my domesticity, my home. The irony was brutal, inescapable. She had been living with his lies, breathing in the scent of his infidelity, without ever knowing. Liam, trapped, exposed, with no escape, finally broke. His shoulders slumped. The confident, composed executive was gone, replaced by a defeated, pathetic figure. "Judy," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Broken, please. Don't do this. Not to me. Not to Leo." "You did this, Liam," I said, my voice steady, uncompromising. "You chose this. You chose to lie. You chose to betray. And you chose to bring your deception into my home, to my son. I simply chose to tell the truth, to protect myself, to protect Leo, and to ensure that justice, in its purest form, prevails." The confrontation was brutal, swift, and utterly devastating for Liam. Within 24 hours, the news broke. David Thorne's article, a meticulously researched, damning exposé, hit the digital wires, its headline a searing indictment of Liam's corporate and personal ethics. Viridian Global executive caught in double life scandal. Allegations of misconduct and company resource misuse rock logistics giant. The article included verifiable dates, suspicious expense reports, and an undeniable timeline of his deceit. The financial world, ruthless and unforgiving, reacted instantly. Viridian Global's stock dipped, and within hours, Liam Reynolds, the once rising executive, was suspended, then quietly, swiftly, terminated. His reputation, built on years of careful cultivation, was shattered, his career irrevocably destroyed. He became a pariah, a cautionary tale whispered in the hallowed halls of corporate power. Anya, reeling from the twin blows of Liam's betrayal and the public humiliation, disappeared from our lives. I never heard from her again, nor did I seek her out. She, too, was a victim of Liam's deceit, albeit one who had knowingly participated in his duplicity. Lily, a truly innocent casualty in her father's elaborate web of lies, was, I hoped, shielded from the worst of the fallout. The divorce proceedings were swift, clinical, and utterly devoid of mercy from my side. Armed with Sarah's legal expertise and the devastating evidence I had meticulously gathered, Liam had no leverage, no defense. I secured full custody of Leo, with supervised visitation for Liam, a bitter pill he was forced to swallow. The brownstone, along with a significant portion of Liam's remaining liquid assets, became legally mine, a tangible symbol of my reclaimed autonomy. The aftermath was a long, arduous process of healing. For both me and Leo, he thankfully was too young to fully grasp the complexities of his father's betrayal, but he sensed the shift, the newfound peace in our home. I explained things to him in age-appropriate terms, emphasizing that it was never his fault, that he was loved unconditionally by me. Liam, stripped of his power, his wealth, and his carefully constructed facade, faded into the background of our lives, a diminished presence, a painful, yet necessary, memory. My graphic design business, once a hobby, blossomed. The notoriety surrounding the scandal, ironically, brought me an influx of new clients, drawn to my meticulous attention to detail and my quiet strength. I invested wisely, not just in my business, but in myself, in Leo's future, and in causes that mattered to me. I became an advocate for women navigating complex divorces, offering my experience, my network, and my resources to those who felt powerless against manipulative spouses. The greatest lesson I learned was not about revenge. Though the satisfaction of seeing Liam's downfall was undeniable, it was about recognizing my own strength, my own worth, independent of any man, any relationship, any external validation. It was about understanding that even in the darkest moments of betrayal, you possess an inner reservoir of resilience, an untapped power waiting to be unleashed. It was about trusting my instincts, even when they screamed inconvenient truths. And it was about protecting the innocent, my son, at all costs. My story isn't a fairy tale with a perfectly happy, saccharine ending. It's messy, complicated, with enduring scars and the quiet ache of a shattered trust. But it's real. And for the first time in my life, after years of living in a meticulously constructed illusion, that felt like more than enough. I learned that silence enables deceit, and that sometimes the most powerful words are those spoken not in anger, but in the quiet, unwavering pursuit of truth. I learned that justice, though often slow, can be served with a cold, precise vengeance. And I learned that true strength is not about avoiding pain, but about enduring it, transforming it, and emerging from the wreckage with an unyielding resolve to build a life, a future, defined by authenticity, integrity, and uncompromising self-worth.